Hello everybody and welcome to another Media Studies lesson. So if you're new to the channel, what you want to do is go back to the beginning of the introduction to the media topic and watch all of the lessons in order. They all do build upon each other. If you're one of my students here, I've sent you here just for revision, then make sure you have a mini whiteboard and whiteboard pen and an exercise book or some line paper to complete the tasks and activities. If you are a teacher, you can purchase these lesson PowerPoints from my TES Shop. The introductory topic is free anyway, so do go and help yourself. Link in the description below. Please do, whoever you are watching this, add a comment. Keep the comments kind, polite, nice. This is a community here, but it does help people find the channel. Please like it as well. I'm not making this channel for any real financial gain. This is just to help my students revise, and I just thought it'd be nice to spread this amongst as many media people as possible. Okay, so our lessons begin. I'm going to try and deliver this, by the way, like I would in a classroom, the best I can. At any point you want to pause the video, please do. That'll give you enough time to complete any questions or activities. With this one, it might also be an idea to kind of go back and watch bits again, because there's going to be quite a lot of teacher delivery in this one. You can see here that this is an LSQ, that stands for low stakes quiz. So when my students enter the classroom, they'd come in silence, and they'd have as much time as it takes me to distribute the books and to take the register to complete this, usually around 4 or 5 minutes. So pause the video if you need to and answer these questions on your mini whiteboard. So what are the 4 topics we will study on this course? That's language, representations, audiences, and industries. You'll notice they are color-coded. What does tokenism mean? Tokenism is including someone from a minority group just to look diverse. So not giving them any real importance, just doing it for your own benefit rather than any progressive social contribution. What is Web 2.0? Well, that is the interactive internet that allows users to create and share content. The old version of the internet, Web 1, was very static. It was basically print media but on a computer screen, not like the internet we have today. What is the merging of media platforms called? That would be convergence. Your mobile phone is not just a phone, it's a video game console, it's a cinema, it's a megaphone, it's all things in one. And what topic is about the way people, places, and events are portrayed? Well, there's a bit of a cheat here because you can see the color coding above now, but that is, of course, media representations. So today we're going to be looking at political contexts. In a minute when I say go, you're going to write down today's lesson title and today's date and give them a nice double underline. The only bit you need here is the title that says political contexts. Just for reference, you can see it's a 0.1.7. That is 0 is the topic, the introductory topic. 1 is the first big area that we're looking at here, which is called context, and this happens to be the 7th lesson on it. Our lesson objective is to understand the political system of the UK and consider the ideology of left and right-wing politics. You do not need to write down the lesson objective. Why waste a minute of every lesson doing that? That adds up to too much time over the course of a year, 2 years, so that it's on the screen, we know what we're doing. Now, before we actually access this lesson, there's a couple of pieces of information that you need to have already. If you followed these lessons from lesson 1, you will already have it. But what I would do in my classroom is something called a prerequisite knowledge check, the pre-required knowledge you need. So I'm going to give you 2 questions here, and I would like you to, in as fewer words as possible, write the answer on your mini whiteboard. What is a generation? And why might different generations have different values and ideologies? Again, if you've been following these videos from the beginning, these will be questions you've had multiple times. So a generation is a group of people born around the same time, sharing common experiences, sharing historical events, and having access to the same types of media as each other. Why might they have different values and ideologies? Well, they grew up with different media. They grew up in different times with different shaping events. That's going to affect them differently. What they believe in, what they value, is going to be very different than another generation. Here is a slide I'm sure you are pretty tired of by now, but as a quick recap, we have been looking at context to help prepare you for the upcoming main topics. Again, this is a very brief overview, a summary, the bare bones approach to these things. To be clear, you should be reading around all of this yourself. What that means is you should be doing your own research on these things. The lessons we've done so far on colonialism and wartime Britain, feminism and civil rights and LGBTQ plus rights, even the lesson on technology. These are just overviews. They're brief summaries. They're enough to get the job done so we can move on with media studies. This is not a comprehensive, which means total or everything. This is not a comprehensive overview of these things. There are also working definitions. You could look in a dictionary and have a different definition for some of these things. Someone in the comments might be disagreeing and say, oh, we should be talking about this differently, or I missed something. Maybe. There are different ways to do it. This way works for media studies, but it's not everything. So do listen. Also, if you are saying things like that in the comments, please be kind. Okay, today we're going to be looking at politics, political shifts, the way politics have changed. Now, to be able to do that, we need to understand what politics is like in the United Kingdom. This is a UK-based channel, UK-based course we're looking at. Now, I do need to be very, very clear. As a teacher, I am not allowed to give my political opinion. If anything I say today, this is a big disclaimer, anything I say today feels like I'm on one side more than the other, it's not. Please don't take that. I'm not giving my political views, my political opinion at all. This is just hopefully very factual. If it feels like I spend more time on one type of political idea than another, then that's just coincidence. That's not intended at all. Okay? You should have your own views and your own ideas on your own political ideas. Go and read the main parties, all of the parties' manifestos. Go and do your research about what politics you are interested in. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Right then. The United Kingdom is a democracy. We, the people, have a say in how our country is run, and we are free to elect representatives to act on our behalf. Now, these representatives can be independent, that means they act on their own, or they might be members of a political party. Members of political parties tend to share the same values, the same ideologies, so beliefs, and hopes for the future of our country. Now, every 5 years, we have a big vote, and that's called the general election. There are smaller elections here and there where some people change positions, and local council elections and things like that. But the big one is every 5 years, the general election. And this is where we all, hopefully, vote for someone to act as our local representative. You can see on this map, there are 650 constituencies or areas. And the representatives from each one are our members of parliament or MPs. So each MP has a seat in parliament. There are 650 seats. Now, we don't vote directly on laws and rules. We don't vote for a prime minister. We just vote for someone to speak on our behalf, someone local. So at the last general election, which at the time of making this video is 2024, sadly only 60% of eligible people actually voted. Can you imagine what would happen if everyone who was eligible voted? The picture might be very different. Anyone who says, I don't vote because it doesn't make a difference, again, I'm not giving my opinion, but you want to really consider whether that's the case. In as fewer words as possible, on your mini whiteboards, what is the general election? You should have something like, when we vote for our MPs, we vote for a member of parliament to talk on our behalf. It's where we can change the government, and it happens every 5 years. Again, you might have had a little look at this image on the board. This is not my own image. As you can see, it's from Election Maps UK, but it shows you all of the constituencies. There are loads of constituencies in London. There's a little zoom in the bottom right corner there. There are lots in London, lots of different areas, and some of the other parts of the country are bigger. It's usually based on around about how many people live there. That's roughly an idea. Here you can see how the last two elections changed. In 2019, the Blues, which are Conservatives or Tories, had the massive majority. Yellow is actually the Scottish National Party. That doesn't really affect England, but it is part of the UK in a bigger sense. By 2024, you can see that red and orange had done a bit of damage to the Conservatives. Red is Labour, and orange here is Liberal Democrats. Liberal Democrats are often orange or yellow, just to confuse you. That's their brand colours. So the Houses of Parliament is a building in London. You can see it here. It's a very famous building. And we have Big Ben on the right-hand side there. Big Ben is the clock, the big clock tower. So the political party with the most MPs, the most voted in representatives, usually forms the government. And they are also known as the party in power. And the leader of that party usually becomes the Prime Minister. Again, we don't vote for the Prime Minister directly, we vote for a local representative. You might make your vote for someone, and they may not win enough votes in your area. So you might have voted for someone who came second place, third place. So you may live somewhere where you are being represented by someone you didn't want. But that's the luck of the draw, and that's how it rolls. So the party in power has the most seats in the House of Commons. The opposition is the second biggest party. Now that's an official term, the opposition. They have to keep a close eye on the party in power. They all sit in the House of Commons, which have these famous green benches. Now, when the government wants to change the law, it suggests a new idea. Maybe someone would suggest, let's legalise marijuana. Then the government discuss it. Now, this change is called a bill. So a bill can actually be suggested by any member of parliament, but they usually have a lot less chance of becoming law if it's not from the party in power, because what the MPs do is they debate it in the House of Commons. So they discuss whether they agree or disagree with the change, and then they all vote on it. Now, if the bill has been proposed by the party in power, they have the most seats. So even after the discussion, after the debate, they all go and vote. Well, if everybody in that party is on board, they'll all vote for it to go ahead. Whereas the opposition and all the other minor parties, they won't have enough votes to challenge it. Now, it's not always that everybody in the same party actually does agree. So you may have people going against their party. So it becomes a big discussion. Once enough MPs have voted for it, if it gets approval from the House of Commons, it then moves forward. And then it goes to the House of Lords. Now, the House of Lords is different, and they have red benches, because the members of the House of Lords are not elected by the public. These are usually people with experience in areas like law and education, or business, religion, science, or some kind of public life. They're supposed to be the best and brightest. They're supposed to be the experts. Remember, the MPs have been voted in almost like popularity contest. They may not really be the best people to make the decisions on our behalf. So the House of Lords is where people who know what's happening and know what's going on should be. And I'll just say should be, because some people would disagree with how those lords are appointed. Now, the House of Lords can suggest changes, and they can ask MPs to think again. They can send it back. So the bill kind of goes back and forth between the House of Commons and the House of Lords until they agree on a final version. And once it's been approved, it can become law. What happens then is it actually goes in front of the King, who signs it off and agrees to it. Now, the King would never go against it. If Parliament, the government, have said this is the law that we've now decided upon and agreed upon, the King would not say, no, we're not doing it. Technically, he could, but he never would. The monarchy is more symbolic now. It's more of a face of the United Kingdom than it is anything political. The monarchy take a very, very clear stance on not being political. The people have the say, not the monarch. Please do a little bit more research on the House of Lords and how they get appointed. My understanding is that sometimes it's hereditary, which means if your father was one, you become one. But that's not the only way. Now it can be, you can become a lord in other ways. Do a little bit of research on that if you're interested. To be really clear, everything we've covered so far in this lesson is context. You will not be tested on it directly. This is not a politics class. This is just to give you the context, the knowledge, the background information to be confident when discussing the media. So you won't be tested on any of this. That's just the background. Right. Politics in the UK and in most democracies is split into different groups based on different ideas, different values, how people think society should work. A lot of the time, you'll hear people talk about left wing and right wing. So the political parties, the members of parliaments, even if they're not in a party, maybe they're just an independent person, they will in some ways be left or right wing or more centrist. It's their views on things. And this is what's important for media. Right wing views tend to believe in keeping certain traditions, giving individuals more freedom to make your own choice, less government interference. That could include supporting things like the monarchy, the church, traditional family structures, or traditional views on gender. It's important to say that not every right-wing person believes exactly the same thing. Some right-wing people might be more traditional, while others might care more about things like taxes or business. A right-wing person might be very much left-wing when it comes to healthcare, but right-wing when it comes to tax. So it's not a one case fits all. Right-wing ideas are often about people working hard, competing, and keeping the rewards of their success. If you earn money, the right-wing view is often that you should be able to keep as much of it as possible, instead of having to share more of it through taxes. So it's focused on individual responsibility. For example, if you break your leg, you might have to pay for your own treatment. That would be a right-wing idea. The doctor or the hospital can charge for that care because they've trained, it's their job. They've worked hard and invested their time and committed their lives to this profession. So they would like to charge you what that costs to make their profit. Schools could be looked at in the same way. Someone might say, I don't have children, so why should I pay taxes for schools? Their view would be that parents should take more responsibility for paying for their own children's education. So a right-wing person might argue that it's fair because people should pay for the things they personally use. Right-wing beliefs often accept that there'll be different social classes because of that. You'll have some people who are wealthier than others. Some people will work harder and earn more money and therefore will invest, and money helps make money. So some people will have more than others. So there'll be upper class, middle class, and potentially even working class people. And the government would be less involved in people's day-to-day lives because the belief is that it's the responsibility of the individual to build a good life, not the government. Now, people on the left usually believe something different. They tend to believe that society should be made fairer and more equal. They're usually more likely to challenge older traditions, specifically if those traditions are unfair or unequal. So the royal family, the church, wealthy elites where they've had money handed down after generation. And now you have people who have lots and lots of money but haven't actually had to do anything for it. So they would be against those things. They would be less against progress. They would be more for changing things rather than keeping things as they were. The idea is that the government should play a bigger role in making sure everyone has what they need. So that might mean putting more money into public services like healthcare and education, housing and benefits. An example, if someone has nowhere to live because they've lost their job, the left-wing view would be that they should be given a house and paid for by the government, which is paid for by our taxes. And the people that pay the taxes are the people that have the money. So even if you've not even paid tax yet, you can still access services like the NHS or state schools. It's about community, supporting everyone. Now, because the idea is that everybody can contribute when they can, and everybody gets support when they need it. So left-wing ideas focus more on reducing the gaps between rich and poor. An easy way to remember it is left-wing is usually about making society more equal, and right-wing is usually about giving individuals more freedom and responsibility. Most people are not fully one side or the other. You might agree with right-wing ideas about business, but left-wing ideas about healthcare. It's more like a scale than separate boxes. And to be clear, one side is not automatically correct, and the other side is not automatically wrong. They're different views about how society should work. So there's a lot there. What I would like you to do now, on your mini whiteboards, is split your whiteboard in half and summarize in as fewer words as possible what right and left-wing ideas are. Pause the video if you need to. Take a minute for this. Okay, hopefully you've got things on the right side of your board. Lower taxes, less government control, more focus on businesses and individual responsibility, people keeping the money they earn, and basically take care of yourself. Left-wing ideas, community, higher taxes for people who earn more funding for the NHS, schools, support for people who are struggling, and rights on the side of the workers rather than for the business owners. Okay, so where do our political parties in the United Kingdom fit if we're talking about left and right wing views? Labour. Labour are usually described as centre left. So they're not massively to the left, but they're more left than being kind of in the middle of these things. We also have the Conservatives or the Tories, and they are usually described as centre right. So both parties are often quite close to the centre on many issues. Just because the Tories, the Conservatives, are on the right doesn't mean they want to get rid of the NHS. And just because Labour are on the left doesn't mean they want to provide housing for everybody no matter what. So it's subtle. But generally speaking, Labour are left, Conservative are right. And their brand colours are red and blue. The UK also has several other political parties who often win seats in Parliament. The main ones to consider would be the Green Party. They are considered to be more left than Labour. They focus strongly on environmentalism. They want much higher taxes on the wealthy to have more money to spend on the environment and looking after the planet. That's their main thing. We also have the Liberal Democrats. They're usually in the middle between Labour and Conservative. And now we have Reform UK. They are further to the right than Conservatives. Please don't read anything too much into my map. This is just a visual diagram. Some people might think they're closer to the Conservatives than where I've put them. It's just a little diagram. Reform focused strongly on issues like immigration, national identity, reducing government spending, lowering taxes, all of the things you would consider to be right-wing. They're often described as a populist party. That means they present themselves as speaking for the ordinary people against the old political establishment. Down with the old ways of politics, let's reform, let's change things. So when we analyse politics in the media, we need to remember that parties are often represented through simple labels like left-wing and right-wing. Now, for reference, because my students always ask, what about Trump? What about America? So it depends how long this video is up for, I suppose. But just to show you, they have a very different political system in America. But their two biggest parties would be the Republicans, which is led currently by Donald Trump, and the Democrats, which used to be Biden. Not quite sure who that is now. To confuse you, their left-wing party is blue and their right-wing party is red, so the opposite of ours. Their right-wing party, the Republicans, are closer to the ideas of reform than they would be to our Conservative Party. But again, you should research this on your own and investigate this a lot more if you're interested in politics. The main thing for today's lesson is to make sure you understand what left-wing politics means and what right-wing politics means. So pause the video if you need to and add this definition to the back of your terminology lists. And now this one too. So I have a question for you. Do you think this is true or false? In the UK, you are allowed to create media that supports, favours, promotes a political party. You don't have to be equal. You don't have to be fair to all sides. Do you think that's true or false? Well, I can tell you it's true. Here you can see the Daily Mirror. They support Labour. They are very anti-conservative. On the left, these are old issues, but you have Keir Starmer, who is currently the Labour leader. I will not let you down. Very positive representation of him. On the right-hand side, the word corrupt next to a picture of Boris Johnson. He used to be the leader of the Conservative Party. So they are very much presenting news stories that favour Labour. They support Labour, very much so. So based on these front pages, do you think the Daily Mirror is left-wing or right-wing? Well, clearly they're left-wing. A good way to remember it, Labour, left, Labour, left. You could even say the Daily Mirror is Labour, left. So as long as you don't lie or intentionally mislead anyone, you can, in this country, openly be supportive of any political beliefs you like. And this is called being partisan. Take a moment to get this definition down. Okay, in a minute, I'm going to show you 6 statements. Your job is simply to consider, are they left-wing or right-wing ideas? Split your whiteboard in half and write the left-wing ideas on one side and the right-wing ideas on the other. The government should spend more money on the NHS and schools. Businesses should have fewer rules so they can grow and make a profit. People should pay lower taxes and keep more of the money they earn. People should take more personal responsibility for their own success. Workers should have stronger rights and better protection. The government should support people who are struggling. Pause the video now, give yourself about 3 minutes to decide which of these are left-wing and which are right-wing ideas. So, spending more money on NHS and schools is very left-wing. It's community-spirited. Businesses having fewer rules so they can just do their own thing, that's right-wing. Less government interference. Pay lower taxes, keep more of the money you earn, very right-wing. Individual responsibility. Take more personal responsibility for your own success, again, right-wing. Stronger rights for workers rather than the owners would be left-wing. And the government supporting people who are struggling, left-wing. Now, as always, you now need to explore all of that in the front of your books. This is your chance to explain how politics in the UK works, how the UK is a democracy, what happens in a general election, what's an MP, how the political party with the most MPs forms the government. Now, we also want you to explore the most important thing is left and right wing ideas. Here is some support for you should you need it. I'd give you 10 minutes for this in my classroom. There's a lot to get down. So that brings us to the end of the lesson. Hopefully you now understand a little bit of the political system of the UK and understand the ideologies of left and right wing politics. You should be able to articulate, that means tell me, what right and left wing ideas are. Now, in the very unlikely event there's any time left of this lesson, an extension would be to create a diagram like this one. Thank you very much for your time. Again, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and other people. Don't forget to be as kind as possible. And if you do want to have this PowerPoint to click through and deliver yourself, the script, you can tell sometimes I'm reading from a script, that is in the notes section of these slides. Again, thanks for your time, and I'll catch you at the next one.